All right, so now that we've conducted our preference assessment and we have the toy that was picked, and we've also done the rules, it's time to move on to our actual session. So before I begin any session, I'm always going to make sure I have my timers, I have the food present, I have the utensils that I need, and I have the tangible item that we picked. Following that, the first thing I'm going to do is have a timer with me that is set for 10 minutes, as our session cap is going to be 10 minutes long. And I'm also going to have a timer to time 30-second intervals, and a lot of the times I use my phone for that because it's pretty simple to do. So first thing we do when we start a session is we begin our 10-minute timer, and then we'll go on to presenting the first bite. The first thing I'm going to have the child demonstrate is taking the bite quickly, so within 8 seconds of the bite being presented, and we'll demonstrate what happens when that goes. So I'm going to begin the timer and present the first bite from whatever food you're starting with. Place it into the bowl that we're presenting, place it in front of the child, and say, take a bite. The child took the bite within 8 seconds, so I'm going to take it away. I'm going to provide praise. Good job taking your bite. And I'm immediately going to give them the toy, restart my timer, and I'm going to provide attention and talk to them. So we'll do that for the next 30 seconds. Oh, I like how you're playing with your car, your Jeep. Beep of the horn, beep, beep, beep. All right, so you would do that for the remaining 30 seconds for that interval. So that's what happens if the child takes the bite quickly within 8 seconds. They get the toy and they get your attention. Now we're going to demonstrate passive refusal. So what might happen is you might place the bite in front of the child, and they might engage in passive refusal, in which they don't actually touch the food or engage in any inappropriate behaviors. More so, they're just sitting there passively, just looking at the food or staring at the wall or whatever the case may be. So we'll demonstrate what happens there. So again, I'm going to go ahead and start the 10-minute timer because we're starting a new session. Present the food. I'll say take a bite. I'm going to start my 30-second timer here. And you can see that the child is kind of just passively sitting there. And you're not going to provide any attention. They're not going to earn the toy. And you'll sit here for the 30-second interval is complete. Now here, if they take the food and accept it, but it's beyond that initial 8 seconds, you're going to take the food away without providing praise and without giving them any attention or toys. Restart your timer, and we're going to sit here for 30 seconds for the mouth clean interval. So that's option number 2 that you might see. Another option that you might see is the child might engage in inappropriate mealtime behavior, such as turning their head, hitting the spoon or the fork away, the bowl, the food, pushing it, throwing it, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate what that might look like if they engage in those inappropriate behaviors. So again, we're going to be starting a new session. I have all my materials and my 10-minute timer. I'm going to go ahead and start it. Get my first bite of food in the bowl, present the bite, take a bite, start my 30 seconds. So immediately they've engaged in the problem behavior, they push the food away. We're going to make sure that we don't provide any attention for it. We're not going to tell them anything about how good the food is or why we want them to take it. We're just simply going to ignore it. A lot of the times when I'm doing this, I'll simply just kind of pick a spot on the table and just look at it and ignore anything that's happening. They won't earn your attention, and again, they won't earn the toy. And we're going to sit here again for that 30 seconds. And once that's elapsed, you go ahead and remove this food from their reach and go right to the next food. We'll present that, take a bite, start another 30 seconds. As you can see, they engage in problem behavior. And again, we're going to sit there quietly until the 30 seconds has elapsed and move to the next bite in the session.